All right, welcome back again, Realty Pros. As you know, we're continuing to discuss our transition into Brokermint as our one-stop shop for our transaction management. So you'll no longer have to go back and forth between Dotloop and Brokermint. We've been building out your guys' templates in there, your checklist to include the documents that you're going to need. And in the next couple of weeks, you will have more. So it's going to be even more robust. You're going to see checklists for just about every type of transaction that you'll need. So you'll just be able to create those, have your documents sent from there, signed, and they'll be returned to there. You'll be able to do everything that you need, including receiving offers and everything from that system, okay? So we're going to continue in that vein. Before we do, however, does anybody have any questions from the last few weeks of this discussion that they'd like to ask? Or has anybody had any experience, had a chance to go into the system and play around with it and have any questions or feedback that they'd like to give?
Mrs. Porter, I have a question. This is Aurelia.
Hey, Aurelia.
Hi, I have a Virginia buyer, and I was trying to put the documents in Brokermint. I started through Dotloop, but because I don't have the checklist for Virginia, I will need it for Virginia and DC. I only have the checklist for Maryland. So I'll have to wait, I guess, until you all kind of put that in together. Is that correct?
I will make that available for you today. That's very simple to do.
Okay, can I get it for both Virginia and DC?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's a very good question that Aurelia just asked, because a number of you are licensed in more than one state. And what you see available currently only says Maryland, but we're working on all the other checklists for you guys as well. And that's a very simple thing for us to do. So Aurelia, you'll receive it and everybody else will have access to it as well.
Thank you.
You got it. Any more questions?
Yes, Mrs. Porter, this is Dee, and
Hey, Dee.
as I was working through the listing that I have on Campus Way, I noted that when I was adding documents, that if there was a long title, that the system would not take it. So it took me a while to realize that, and thank you, Anita, for your help, to realize that the title of the document has to be less than 50 characters in order for you to add them up, to upload them into your listing for your disclosures. That's what I'm talking about.
On Bright MLS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Documents to Bright. And I was adding them from, I thought I was adding them from Brokermint, but I guess I was not. I thought I was adding them from Brokermint. And then when I was trying to add things to Brokermint, I just came to a standstill. So at some point, I would like to go through how you add your documents and figure out what your tasks are.
Well, I'm very happy to be able to oblige you, because that's what we're going to be doing today. Last week, we went through the buying portion of the checklist. Today, we're doing the listing portion of the checklist. And just to Dee's point, she's talking about Bright MLS and uploading disclosures in there. That isn't a Brokermint function, but it is very good to note that you can change the name of the document. So when you're downloading them from Brokermint or from your computer, in order to upload them successfully into Bright, you simply change the name of it so that it's a shorter title, so you won't have any issues with the system accepting it. That's good. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions, comments, anything that you found out with playing around with the system?
Right. So what I noticed in Bright is when you're uploading, it won't let you add a document that's titled has more than 50 characters. So that's just all you need to keep in mind, is that you can't, if it's not allowing you to save, click on the title and it may be that it's more than 50 characters. And so if you shorten it, then it'll accept it. But it's so funny that, and I was so glad that I was able to be in last week's meeting, because I didn't, anyway, I had not had any formal training in Brokermint prior to then. And it was then Friday. Thursday, we had that training. I was so glad I was there because Friday, I talked to one of my clients and it was like they wanted to submit an offer. And I was like, oh my goodness, And so I knew I could do it in Dotloop, but, because we were going to be fully integrated into Brokermint, by the end of the month, I wanted to go ahead and try it. And so I talked to Mr. Porter like 3 times. He was very gracious and helped me out, but it was good experience to, go through the process in Brokermint. So I'm more comfortable with that now. And then I also have had the opportunity to then put in a seller um, their listing, from the beginning in Brokermint. So
Great.
it was funny. I was just like, okay, God, here we go. Now we had the training on Thursday, and now here I have to try to use it on Friday. So it's interesting, but I managed to get it done.
Good. Great job. I'm very excited to hear that. We're going to go through that today. So Anita, then we can pull on you for some of the things that you learned last week when you were going through it, and anybody else who's had a chance to play around with it, feel free. All right, I'm going to go ahead and begin to share my screen with you guys. And as promised, we're going to do a new transaction from the listing side. Okay. Last week, we worked on the buying side. Today, we're going to do a transaction from the listing side. And I'm simply going to choose that address there. All right. Listing date, we're going to choose today's date. All right. Our expiration date, we're going to take that a year out. All right, so now we're going to go to next. All right, total commission, 6%. Listing side, a listing agent, Porterhouse. So we're going to have 3% or 3.5%, whatever you designate as the listing agent. We add the agent. And for those of you in Porterhouse, you're going to see your name there. So you can simply add it there, go to save. If I were working with any other agent on this transaction, you simply add the other agent who's working the transaction with you and the portion of the commission that you're sharing with them. Okay. Buying side. There's no buyer's agent just yet, but we're going to go ahead to next. Contacts, seller. Choose Mr. Shea Porter, you're going to be the seller. And we are going to create that transaction, okay? So we've just created the transaction and it's that simple for the listing. So now who remembers the next thing that we need to do?
So now you add your checklist.
That's right.
Also, Ms. Porter, something that, which I'm sure you all mentioned it in the previous classes, but I kind of got a little bit caught up for a second there because it was asking for on the contact, and unless you add the contact in on the contact list, you won't have a contact to pull from. So that's something also to remember.
That's right. And you can say that again, where we just went through adding the checklist and you saw where I was able to grab Shea Porter's name from in there. To Anita's point, if the person's name is not already there, you will need to add their full name as well as their full email address in order to create the contact, in order for your list to populate with that person's information, okay? So we're going to add checklist and we're going to choose Maryland listing because we said we're going to do listing for now. All right, so our listing date is going to be today. And let's just, for the sake of this training, let's just choose an acceptance date. We'll just choose it for now. All right. Now, of course, this is going to be per your contract, so you'll have real dates, but for the sake of our training, we're just going to put this in there. All right. So now what you're going to see is you're going to see your checklist that's going to be populated with the information that you'll need. So the first one was add your client's information. Because I have my client in there as the seller, Mr. Shea Porter, it's there. But just like Anita was saying, if your client's information isn't already added to your account at Brokermint, then go ahead and type it in there. All right. Now you see where it says upload the signed listing agreement. You click right on there, use forms. And this particular section is right there in your checklist. You go to next, and right here on next, there's going to say signers and other parties. All right. So the seller we have is Shea Porter. The listing agent we have as Jasmine Porter for now. Let's see, seller number 1, listing agent. So currently I don't have an additional buyer, an additional agent, or an additional seller. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and remove these fields because I don't need signature fields for these people just yet. Now, of course, when you're ratifying the contract, you're going to need more people. But for now, the listing agent and the seller, okay? Assign the order so that the seller signs before the listing agent.
Yeah, hey Jazz, I wanted to chime in real quick.
Sure.
So I didn't realize that you could delete all those unneeded, like the buyer 1, buyer 2, the buying agent. So if you don't do that, guys, what it'll do is when you open up the document, it's just going to auto-populate where everybody can initial or sign in pretty much all the different fields that's in the document. So, I mean, you can still delete each one, but by doing that in the beginning, it just saves you a lot of deleting because it's already done for you. So all that is going to, you know, if you're working on the listing, all you need is you and then your client. So everybody else can be deleted. It just make it a lot easier.
That's a very good pointer. You don't want to get to the point where they're e-signing and now it's confusing because you have so many signature and initial spaces for people that don't yet exist in the transaction. So thank you for adding that, Curtis. All right, so now that we've added those signers and removed the other parties that are not party to this transaction, we're simply going to go to next. Now the system is preparing the documents for us, okay? So now we're going to scroll down and take a look at what we have. All right, it has information for Porterhouse, salesperson. I'm going to show you guys something really quick. My fingers can catch up. There you go. So on the side, you see where it says fill now? You have options there. If ever you want to type into that field, you see where in the orange it says fill now, and you click on that, or if it is selected, it'll allow you to type into that field. If, however, it's on seller number 1, for instance, when you send that to the seller, he or she or they will be able to type into that field only. If I were to choose listing agent, then the listing agent is the person who would be designated to type into that field. So whenever you need to fill that field, then you're simply going to type fill now, okay? And if you wanted to verify who your signatures are assigned to, you simply click on it and it's going to tell you it's assigned to seller 1. If you wanted to change it, then you can open up that drop down arrow and change it to whoever you needed it to. But the system is automatically going to choose the signers that you selected on the previous page as the signers in the appropriate places. All right.
I apologize, Jasmine.
Sure.
Could you repeat that again? As
you went out there, Anita. I think what you were saying is repeated. No worries. Go ahead.
I apologize. So that's a question that I was going to ask. As far as I know the fill now, and I can fill, but if I wanted, say for instance, disclosure and disclaimer one, and that's something that's filled out by the seller.
Yes.
Then I have to click on each of those and fill now, but it's not assigned to the seller, but they will then be able to, when I send it to them, fill it.
So let's walk through what that looks like. All right. So because our information is already in the system, some fields are automatically going to populate with your information, your brokerage's information. If, however, like Anita is saying, there's a field that you want for your sellers to have access to fill in only, such as your disclosure disclaimer, then you're going to select that field, and just where it says fill now, you're going to assign that to the seller only. So the seller, when they receive that email, they're the only ones that are going to have access to fill that in. Okay, and that's
Okay,
exactly
thank
what you
you.
want to do. You got it. So when you're sending your disclosure disclaimer or your inclusions, exclusions, your sellers should be making those elections. So that's a very good question. All right, now this is assigned to the seller. Okay, so if ever you needed to check that, you see exactly what's going on there. All right, notification of dual agency within a team. This one is a PDF and it does not yet have, did I go out of that screen? Apologies there. This one does not yet have your field assigned to it. So let me just go back. All right. So you see here at the top of the screen where we have text. Okay. So because this one, actually, I don't need to do text. I need to do signature there. So because this one did not have a signature field, because it wasn't an electronic document, but a PDF, I simply add a signature there. I can add a signature, I can extend it, and I simply assign it to the seller. Okay. If I need to add a date, I'm simply going to add the date there. Okay. And you notice if you put the cursor kind of in the center where like the little hand or the pointer comes up, that's when it's going to allow you to move the field. Okay. So now I've added it there. So here you simply click on that, choose your date, type your seller, or you have that information that's already populated for you. All right, choose your dates here. Beginning date, expiration date. Type your terms in, fill now, click on that. All right. Now this is going to say mutual agreement in writing signed by both parties, but I won't fill all of that out right now. Listing price, you put that in because it's on fill now. It's going to allow you to type anything in that you want to type in. All right, showing instructions, you're going to type those in. Yes.
I was gonna say, just in case you notice, if you go up to the top, one of the choices is for money. So you can actually put that in and make it a money field if you are requiring for your seller to put in dollar amounts. It will default to make them put in a dollar amount.
Great notation. So let's just go over what we have as options at the top, okay? So we have text, we can add text, we can add the money field like Mr. Porter was talking about. We can add strike throughs at the top. We can add check boxes, we can add signatures, initials, and dates. So everything that you need to edit your documents and make sure that they are sufficient for your transaction, okay? Now, here's the thing. This is going to automatically put a seller's signature in places where it's designated for a seller, but you can remove them. Okay, so we want to make sure that, as we know in our listing agreement, paragraph number 7, 7B, you want to make sure 7B and 7C are deselected because those are going to limit your ability to market the property. So it's just as easy as that. You simply click on the fields that you want to remove and you simply hit the trash can. And everything else that's left, you don't need both of those. Simple enough. Delete it, you have those there, move on down. All right, so this is just quality control. You're simply checking off to make sure that everything's there that needs to be there. All right, does anybody have any questions thus far? Simple enough. We're almost finished our listing document.
Mrs. Porter,
Hey, Dee.
maybe, maybe this question should come after you're finished with this document, but if you have, if you've started the documents already in Dotloop, what would you do to upload? You just download and upload?
Yep, you download and upload, and it's literally just that simple. So we'll go over that too.
All right.
All right.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead. We're going to finish this one out really quickly. Finish this out, and we're going to send it. That way you see it from beginning until end. All right. Does anybody have any questions thus far? Now, I want you to pay attention to something really quickly, because as you see, the system has populated an initial and a signature field in every place that's designated for the seller. However, not all of those are going to be required. So I want you to make note to go to anything that is not required, and you see how quick and easy that is to delete it. All right. Delete, and we're moving right along. Moving right along, anything that's party to the contract, you're going to select it there. Now we have this place signed for the seller, and we have this assigned for the listing agent. Now we can save that. We can send it for signatures there. Financial condition of the property, that's already designated for the seller to fill in. You see how that's blued out there? If you click on it, it tells you who's able to fill in that document and who's able to sign it. All right. So I'm going to hit this drop down arrow over here. So you have a couple options. You see save and close. If you needed to go back and re-edit this document, you could simply hit save and close. But I actually want to send it for signatures. So I'm going to hit the drop down arrow on the right hand side of the screen, and I'm going to hit send for signatures. All right. And you see it's going to have a message that's going to populate in there. Now it's sending my documents out. So those are my listing documents. So your disclosures are going to be in a second tab. That's the meat of your listing documents. Now, that being said, there are going to be additional documents based on the property. So if the property is built before 1978, if the property has additional potentially encumbrances, there are going to be things that you'll need to add, but the meat of your listing documents are right there. All right. So now you've just sent those over, and now you've sent them out for signatures. So once Mr. Porter signs off on it, then it's going to come to me, and then I'll be able to sign off on the document. Now, if ever you need to restart that e-sign process, if you have an issue and you need to reinitiate it, you can click on, if you see this option over on the right, restart e-sign. If you wanted to unassign, if you wanted to delete, if you wanted to email, submit, or edit the task, you can do all of those from on the right-hand side of that screen. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. Well, we're going to continue to walk down here. So your signed agency disclosures, let's walk through this, Dee, so you can see what you could do. So you asked about uploading documents into Brokermint. All right. Now, that being said, this is not, let's see what I can find. All right. So I'm just going to upload something here. Now, this is not your disclosures for the property, but this is what you would do. Let me go out of it and I'll start again. If you come to a section and it says upload, and you want to add documents that you already have in Dotloop, you click on this button that says upload, and you can simply choose files either from your computer or you choose them from wherever you need them to. All right, so I'm going to click on those disclosures. And just like that, those disclosures are inside of my transaction, okay? If you wanted to look at that, now these are for a totally different property, of course, but these are disclosures that you added straight from your computer to Brokermint, and it literally took maybe 2 seconds. So it's just that simple to upload anything into your transaction. Wonderful. All right, so then let's go to, all right, Mr. Porter, let's see if you've signed off on that document so I can take a look at it here. All right, I'm going to go back here, open these documents. These are my listing documents. And let's see if my seller has signed off on it just yet. First, let me refresh my browser, go back. Any questions about anything thus far?
Is the selling disclosure or the closing disclosure also included in this group?
Well, no, your closing disclosure is going to come to you from the title company, and you will, however, upload your closing disclosure into your file. Okay, these are going to be your listing disclosures that you'll have to upload into Bright so that the buyer will have access to them. So these are disclosures. Well, when we get to the next tab, there'll be disclosures from your seller to the buyer. What we're looking at currently is the meat of your listing agreement. And as you can see, I sent it over to my seller for signatures, and there it is. It allows the seller to draw their actual signature or choose an electronic signature. And just like that, I have my signed listing agreement. There you go. Seller signature there. Initials. Initials. And that actually looked like the full signature there. Okay. So I have everything I need. It's right there. Now, one of the saving graces and really big time savers for you guys is that for all of your contracts, both your ratified contracts for buyers, your signed listing agreements, and your ratified contracts on the listing side, all of those are due to the office within 48 hours of having them signed. And the way that they're submitted is through Brokermint. Now, because you're initiating all of your transactions in Brokermint now, it's going to be so much simpler because it's already there. You simply click the submit button, okay? But what I want to point out here, my seller has signed off on those listing documents. And now you see what comes next, their certificate. So everything is authenticated here. You have all the specific information that you need, who signed when, what email address, what time, and then unique ID and the actual signature that the person drew so that you can make sure that your documents are authenticated. All right, does anybody have any questions?
And I just want to point out to you guys that they are actually asking for authentication or package certificates from some of your transactions in the title company now. Or
Yes,
even
some of
bank,
them are.
especially on bank listings.
And I want to expound upon that a little bit more. So with the world of online electronic signatures, they want to make sure that everything is authentic as could possibly be. So on your bank-owned transactions, they will absolutely ask you for that page, okay? Some title companies are now asking for that page. So now it would no longer be a mystery to you guys as to how to find that information in order to present it for your transactions, okay? So that's your signed listing agreement. All right, so now your checklist, it continues. So when it's time for you to upload your completed property disclosures, let's click on choose forms. So here are, before I move on, let me ask, how easy was that?
Fabulous.
Wonderful.
That was easy. That was easy.
Really cool.
Good, good, good. That makes me happy to hear, guys. This is very, very simple. Mr. Porter and I were very excited. The only thing that I'll say is I wish we had done it even sooner. So to that end, we are excited for the ease of use that this is going to provide to you guys. All right. So let's walk through this next section, your property disclosures, because that's on your checklist, right? You're going to have to complete it. So you simply click on your forms. Now you have a couple of options because the meat of your disclosures that are going to be necessary for your transactions are going to be right here. Okay. Now, what happens if you already have disclosures that you've gotten signed? Well, you simply click on attach a document. And if those disclosures, if you downloaded them to your computer, then you simply choose them from your computer and you add them. So in less than 1 second, they're a part of your disclosure list. Okay. Now, if perchance this list of disclosures, if you need to add another document that you don't see here, what do? You click on add more forms. Okay. Now, this is going to take you to your library. Your company library, this is our company Brokermint library that's already been in place, okay? There are various documents that are available for you here. For whatever reason, we don't yet have the electronic versions of the Virginia and DC documents, but you guys have that information already in your company library. So if you're doing a transaction that you need your Virginia documents, you need DC documents, they're already in your company library. So you're simply going to click on whether it's the purchase documents and you simply add it to the transaction, okay? If it's for your Virginia documents, your Virginia listing documents per se, you're simply going to click on one and you add it to the transaction. Let's just choose one just for now, okay? So we're going to select those 8. And let's say by chance you needed to add one, and we went through this on the buying side, but I want to make sure that this is perfectly clear for everybody. So if you needed to add one that's from your Maryland Realtors documents, you click right there. These are already electronic. The other ones are very simple too, because if you need to add a signature field, a text field, you're simply going to click on them like we did. These ones that are in the Maryland Realtors folder, however, you simply click them and they are already electronic. All right. So you click on the additional folders as needed for whatever documents you need. All right. Let's just say we wanted to, let's see. Is there anything that you guys see that you want me to add here?
Condo documents.
All right, let's see. Condo documents. All right, so we're going to add those. So now you see we have nine documents here. Now you see this little, what looks like a page or 3 little lines on the left. This allows you to arrange them in whatever order you like. If you wanted to move one up or the other down, if you wanted to rearrange it so that it flows well for you in your contract, you can move them however you need to, okay? And if when you get here, you see, oh, you know what, I actually don't need that. You simply click there on that X and you remove it, okay? If you need to add more forms from anywhere, as you saw, your company library, the Maryland Realtors library, uploading it from your computer, you do that.
Those 3 lines are called the hamburger lines.
They're called the what?
Hamburger.
All right, well, that's your hamburger line. All right, so next, we're gonna go to next. And the same thing here applies. This is where you're gonna verify your signers and other parties for which the system is gonna designate a space in those documents. Now, because this is for your listing side, we're gonna remove the buying side for now because you don't yet have a buyer, okay? Your listing agent. For now, for this transaction, Talitha, you'll be the listing agent. You're going to remove the other fields. All right, and I'm going to assign the order because I want my seller to actually sign before the agent. So I'm simply going to move that around. Go to next. And just like that, it's preparing my documents, okay? That literally was a signed click. Now, this is what Anita was asking about earlier, because this is my property disclosure disclaimer. And this is a document that you never want to complete on behalf of your seller. So as you can see here, this, if you click on it, it's already assigned to the seller to complete, and you don't want to change that, okay? All of your disclosures, they're for the seller to complete. All right, and the seller is able to sign off on whatever their preference is between the disclosure or the disclaimer. So you explain those 2 documents to them as you always have, and you allow them to choose which of them they prefer. All right, your inclusions, simply add the date, everything else is there. Now here, it's best if the seller fills it out so you know that you have everything right. This one is not it's not that you can't fill this one out for the seller and have them to approve it. You could if you needed to, although it's best for the seller to fill that in. All right, now your lockbox addendum, see everything here. So we're nearly completed because those 2 documents that we saw are for the seller to complete. Everything else See the information, seller's information, property information, initial fields where they should be, signature fields where they should be, disclosure of information. So we're simply gonna deselect those that do not apply. All right. If you see anything that does not apply, you simply deselect it. Move on down. Because it's going to put it in all the sections that say seller, you just need to scroll through it really quickly just to make sure that you eyeball it and it doesn't have anything that's repetitive. All right, now because we added this document, this is actually from the Virginia Library. It's this quick. So your broker or your salesperson, we're going to fill that in. All right. It's going to represent sellers. I need to move that around. I'm going to put it over there and check that box. Seller's signature. I'm going to put that seller's signature there. And that's already assigned to seller 1. So it already knows who my seller is. That's Mr. Porter. Actually, that's printed name. So let me move this one down here. Back it up just a little bit. Text here for Mr. Porter's name. And I will fill that in. Quick and easy. All right. Now, if I want to go ahead and put my date field right here, I can move this on over. And they are fully adjustable. Now that information is there. Okay. Seller's information. Move on down. My condominium notice here. Okay. Now you want to put in your condo association and you're going to get that information from your tax record. But everything else is completed. It's literally done. So I'm going to send that for signatures. How long did that take?
Not long at all.
Minutes.
Not long at all, 10 minutes. There you go. So now I'm sending that to Mr. Porter. He's my seller. Gonna have him sign off on it. And once he signs off on it, then my listing agent, Talita Bynum, she's gonna sign off on it, okay? So you're completing these items from your checklist seamlessly because everything is where it needs to be. Now, as I mentioned before, as a reminder, and we can't state it enough, all contracts for listings, and that literally means your listing agreements that are signed listing agreements, they need to be submitted to the office within 48 hours of having a signed listing agreement. They also need to be submitted to the office before they're added to the MLS. That being said, this is how easy it is. So now that my seller has signed off on this document, what do I need to do? Submit, done. That was less than 1 second. Now it's submitted to the office and I'm in compliance. All right, property disclosures. Once that's signed off on, what am I gonna do? Click submit, done. Less than 1 second and you're compliant, okay? So that same thing applies to all of your contracts on your buying side, so ratified contracts for buyers, all of the addenda there too. As we mentioned last week, in the event that there are any documents that need to be added, you simply go to your unsorted documents. So your documents, click on unsorted documents. And as we mentioned, here is a link right here. You can copy this link and you can email all of, if there are your updated, addenda for any terms that may have been countered, or if somebody wants to send you something after you have a ratified contract, or whether it's your condo docs or whatever it is, when you go to this on the left, your unsorted documents, there's a link. So it's going to take it directly into your documents for you. So you, won't have to go back and download and then upload them here. It's going to do it for you. Does anybody have any questions about that? All right. So that's how you're going to do your document. Now, for one of the most exciting features about this whole thing, now that you have created a listing in Brokermint, all of your offers, you come straight here to the offer section. You see you get a link. You can either drag your cursor across it and copy it from there. or you can simply copy to the clipboard and you see copy. What is the purpose of this link? Can anybody tell me?
It makes
You
it
put-
easy for your offers to come straight directly into Brokermint. And everything, you can do everything right there. You can email back and forth, everything. It's just all right there. It was just wonderful to see that.
Excellent. Curtis, you had something to add?
Yeah, so you would copy and then you would paste that in your MLS listing documents under the description for agents, so that when they're looking at the, at the agent remarks, you give them the instructions to submit all offers to that link, and then they'll just copy or they'll email to that link, and then all the offers will be in there.
That's right. That's exactly what you're going to do. So just as they've stated, you're going to copy this link, put it in bright, and then all of the agents who want to submit an offer for you, they're going to come right here. So now when you receive an offer, you're going to get an email to your inbox that gives you the Brokermint info. It's going to say, hey, you've received an offer in Brokermint. Now you don't have to be scattered between your email, Brokermint, Dotloop. You simply come directly to Brokermint and click on offers. And once there are offers here, all of them will populate right here. It's going to have the buyer's information, the offer price, the agent's information. And once we've actually received an offer, you'll be able to actually participate from here. And I want to, the next training we're going to simulate that so that you see how to communicate with the listing agent. But for the sake of today, we're going to continue down our checklist. All right. All right. So Mr. Porter, you signed off on those disclosures? My seller's on the line.
Yes.
All right. So let's take a look here. All right, you see signatures there. All right, he signed off on it. Now, for the sake of the activity, we're not going to fill it in. As you guys well know, we're just showing you the ease of use for signing and creating the documents and so forth and so on, okay? So you're going to verify with your signature that they've signed in each of the places, and you move forward from there with making sure that every field that should be indicated is selected. But you see how easily he was able to sign off on those documents and send it on over to us, okay? So in the event that you need to restart this e-sign process, you click on Restart e-sign, and it's asking me what I want to do. If I want to keep the existing signatures and add new fields and send as an updated package, or do I want to avoid all the signatures, make adjustments, and then send as a new package? I'm going to opt to keep the existing signatures, add new fields, and send as an updated package. So I'm going to click on that, continue. So my signers, going to be my seller, going to go to next. All right, now what do I want to do here? I want to make sure that my seller has signed off or initial or selected everything that's necessary, but I saw a couple things that I wanted to make sure had signatures. All right. So on, I think it was this one, there you go. So this document here, I need an initial from the seller. So you see how easy that is in the event that I need to go back and say, okay, well, I need that initial here. I need this initial here. I can do this and send it back over to the seller for the seller to sign off on, okay? Without having to worry about it deleting all of my other signatures and initials. All right, so I'll put that there.
So then this essentially allows you to edit your already signed off on document.
So the docket, yep. So if you needed to add more signatures and more initials, you see that there? Mm-hmm. So because you see that initial, you see how it's highlighted in like that mustard color. If it remains highlighted, then I simply continue to click wherever I want it to add. You see, I don't have to go back and click on initials every time I wanted to add an initial. As long as that's highlighted, I simply click the space on the page and it'll add it for me. Okay.
But before we would actually have to save that document, re-upload it into Brokermint or into Dotloop, and then add the signatures. Because if not, Dotloop would have kicked out and erased all the signatures and
That's
initials.
exactly right. That's exactly right. So now
Beautiful day. Beautiful day, everybody.
So you do that by way, I apologize because I stepped away for a half a second, but I wanted to have this information. So you do that by going into re-sign?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And it'll give you the option to keep the existing signature.
Right, that's where I came in at.
You got it. There you
Okay,
go. So
thank
now
you.
it's not going to clear out your documents, guys. Okay. And you don't, like Curtis said, you don't have to worry about saving it, downloading it, re-uploading it, and doing all of those things. It allows you to continue with the progress that you've already made. All right. So now I'm going to remember over here on the right, I have the option to save it and close it, or I can send it for signatures. Okay. Now, of course, you can do all these features such as download, print, or discard the changes, but I want to complete that document. So now I'm going to send this back to Mr. Porter for those last couple of signatures. All right. Now, once I'm satisfied with all of the fields being completed and all the signatures being captured, then I'm going to submit that document for review. But this is a very important step in the process, guys. Just us laying eyes on the document. So just because you send it out and you receive it back doesn't mean that it's going to be completed. So you verify it a few times, make sure everything is as it's supposed to be, okay? And if that means you send it back and forth a few times, you see how simple it is, no big deal. You send it back, you close, you're done. All right? Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. This is Aurelia. So does it do like Dotloop where it kind of directs the person that's signing or initialing that everything is complete, or do they have to scroll through the document to make sure that they initial everywhere?
So that's a really good question. So we can sign off on it. Let me see if maybe I can sign off on my end. Well, let me just answer it plainly. Yes, it will direct the person through the document. Okay, we can do that the next time so you can see what it looks like when we're actually the signers signing off on the document. So it'll tell the person to start, and it'll have a red little indicator over every initial and every signature field that's required. And then it'll indicate when the person has finished. It'll send them an email and send you an email also. And we'll do a demo of that.
And back to the whole client fill-in portion, does it also take them to each spot that you have available for them to fill in, or does it just do for the signatures and or initials, and then they would have to go back to the spots that are actually assigned to them to fill in?
Yet another great question. Thank you, Anita. Mr. Porter, you're our seller for today. You just received these documents and you signed off on them. Did it give you the option to fill in these check boxes, or did it just take you to the signature and initial fields?
I'm in a settlement, so I just signed it. But I could have checked in the check boxes.
Okay. So it gave him the option to fill it in. He simply skipped past it and did the initials and signatures for the sake of the training.
See how easy this is? You know, Shay's at a settlement, signing off documents. It's a great day.
So we forgive anything that's missing or not filled in, because this is just for the demo, and he's actually at a settlement right now. But of course, when you have your seller to do it, you'll verify that everything's complete. Thank you, Mr. Porter, for your diligence in participating, although you're at a settlement. Commitment. All right, there you go. So we are finished with that part for now. When you guys need to submit it, you simply submit. If you want to email, you can go here. And if you wanted to upload this document to your email, let's say by chance you want to send this as a PDF to somebody, okay? If I say the recipient, I'm going to send this to Anita, okay? And I'm going to put all All right, I'm going to send this over to Anitha. Now, here's the thing with this system, whenever you send an email, it's best that you also add yourself also so that both people are sending emails. I'm sorry, both people are receiving emails, because what I found in the system is that it tracks and it gives you activity for various things that you do in the process, and you can send emails from it. But I want to make sure that you guys always have a copy of any emails that you send out from the system, okay, for your records. So when you send something out in an email, you send it to the person whom you want to receive it, and then go ahead and add yourself to it as well, okay? And then we can have it to remove the audit trail pages, because that can become cumbersome in an email. It's not required for the email. So simply click on that, and then you click send, all right? So now Anitha is going to receive that email, and I will receive a copy of that email also. All right. So now your checklist continues, and you know everything that you need to do, when you need to do it by, ordering your photography, collecting the keys, installing your lockbox, ordering the seller's free home warranty. And another quick pointer that I want to give you guys, some of these, when you look at your checklist, if you actually click on it, it's going to open up for you as you see, and they're going to be more specific instructions itemized in there. So as you can see, if you had not clicked on order seller's free home warranty, you may have just looked at those instructions there, but it tells you how to do it and what to do when you actually click on it, okay? So for your home warranty, it tells you what to do, who to reach out to, what information to send, and where to send it to. For your order yard sign, you click there, it's going to give you instructions as to how to complete that step as well. Same thing for your seller net sheet, okay? So information is available to you in various sections of your checklist also, all right? You see, upload that to Bright MLS. All right, you see that? So does anybody have any questions? Because I'm really excited about this new system. How are you guys feeling?
Excellent.
Good, 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 good.
Yeah, this is great.
I like the fact that all of it is done in one specific place. All of this can be done in Brokermint versus, going between systems and trying, like doing half of it in Brokermint, I'm sorry, in Dotloop, and then having to upload it to Brokermint and all of that stuff.
Yeah, rest in peace, Dotloop. We will not miss you at all.
Yeah, they can rest in pieces as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well, I am overjoyed to hear that you guys are excited as Shay and I are, because when we saw the functionality and everything we could be doing here, we said this is a no-brainer. Listen, let's make it as easy as possible, as efficient, and make sure that you guys have everything you need to be successful. All right. You guys are amazing. That concludes our training for today. I'm going to open the floor up to you guys for any questions you have, any comments or anything before we end today.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I've been studying for my DC license, and where do I go to take the actual exam now? Do I schedule that? Because I went to some testing site, years ago when I got my real estate license, but I'm not sure. Do I do the same thing?
So I'm going to have to pull that information up for you, because there are various testing sites. So let's look and let's make sure that you're going to the right place there. We have a couple people who've gotten their DC license and who've tested. Let's see, Anitha, Aurelia, you took your testing for your DC license. Anitha, you did yours a while back. Aurelia.
I just want to say that PSI exams, if you go on psiexams.com, they cover all three, Maryland, Virginia, and DC. And I actually took my DC and Virginia exam both in Virginia.
So that was PSI exams?
PSI exams.
Okay.
back now on the ground. Things are heating up.
And I don't remember where I took mine. I mean,
It's been a while for me. I definitely understand. So I'm excited about all the resources that we have here among us, Curtis. Aurelia just did hers recently, so she's going to be very fresh and be able to walk you through that.
Cool. Excellent.
I have a phone number as well, a 1-800 number, if you want that.
Definitely. You can put it on WhatsApp if you want, or text it directly to them. That's really good information.
Okay, I can do that. I can text whatever I have, just in case
Okay.
anybody else needs that information.
Appreciate it.
You guys are the best. Does anybody have any more questions, feedback, comments, or anything they'd like to share before we finish up today?
Aurelia, can you put that on WhatsApp so everybody that need it can get it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'll do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just had just one comment. I think this is excellent, and just wanted to know when the Virginia and DC forms will be available, so that I can put the Virginia ratified contract in there. I already have the information in there, but I couldn't use, of course, the Maryland forms. So I just went on and did Dotloop, but I can transfer everything over. But everything is set up in the system.
Perfect. So it's actually simpler for you than you think. And because everybody else is still here, I'm going to show you guys in case anybody has that same question. Let me show you something really quickly. Aurelia, for your transaction, let's say by chance you were to go to your documents and you say, okay, well, these are the Maryland documents right here. If I wanted to upload something different, let me go to a different section. Let me go to ratified contract, just here for now.
I tried that and it said admin, for admin use only. It wouldn't allow me to do it because I was going to try to add it.
Now, what I was going to say is in your actual company library, in the company library, your Virginia documents are there, your DC documents are there too. And just like we added them, you can add between the 3 libraries, the company library, Maryland library, or documents that are on your computer. You can pull them from the company library. Okay, so we can walk through it together because I don't want to hold everybody else, but it's much simpler than you think it is. But those checklists will be updated. So that way you won't have to, they'll be in that one place, just like your Maryland documents are. But even now, it's very simple to do. Call me when we get off the line and I can walk you through it, okay?
Will do. Thank you.
You got it. You guys are wonderful. I want to go ahead and let you go. We're at probably about 3 minutes or so over our time. I want to honor your time so that you can go and have a productive rest of the day. We will see you guys same time next Thursday for Porterhouse Realty Talks. Thank you for everything in the midst of everything that in our busy lives that's going on. You guys are carving out the time to make sure that you get the information you need in order to be successful. If you need anything, give Mr. Porter, myself a call. We're here for you. We appreciate you guys. Have an amazing rest of the day.